Hello. Welcome to the new streaming setup. I have built a whole new area with new tables and equipment. I got a second monitor. I have my workstation is still back there where I get to work, and I've set up a much nicer background, which is what I was hoping to do. So now I'll be able to do video game streams where I answer questions and things like that, and as another way to kind of grow the brand, quote unquote, which is me. So one of the questions that came from Patreon was, how long does it take me to get set up? Once I've found a spot, I've hiked to wherever I want to go, and I think this would be a good spot to sit down and watch some nature or look for wildlife. So this is kind of a two-part question. The first part is I have to get everything ready in the car. Once I arrive at a place, I need to build together the camera, and I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so pretend that this is the car. We open up the case here to get the camera out. We set it to the side and we have to start assembling. So first thing's the lens. And I did in previous videos have the lens attached the whole time it was traveling. This is a bad idea. I read about the damage that can occur and we just don't want to take any chances. And I've got the space in the case, so there was no reason not to. Just fit that in there, get it tightened down, and then we need to put the lens support and the focus ring. It can be a bit fiddly. I usually undo this at the very end of the last shoot to make sure that it doesn't get damaged while it's in travel. And it's easier to take the lens off after you've put these supports on there. Spin it around, and the next thing we will attach is going to be the arm, which is a hand grip as well. Which is also a bit difficult to do one-handed. And then we'll plug in the link cable. This allows me to be able to, if it's up on my shoulder, which it rarely is, I could press the record button from there. We're going to attach the mic. Screw that down tight. Plug in the XLR cable. And camera's ready to go. And this is what I usually wind up doing, just kind of giving you an example. If I'm not wearing the snow jacket already, then I put it on at that point, depending on how cold it is outside. I have to fiddle with the zipper first. And then we got this lower bag that we put on here. This one goes around the waist. This one carries the vlogging camera, my lunch for the day, things like that. And then I put on a big backpack that's got everything else in there. I have to find the supports for it. And I grab the tripod and the camera. That's what it looks like when I go out. Now we'll show you what it looks like when we get there. So, thanks to the process of over-editing, let's find out. So now that I've found a good spot, I get out there and I have to set up the tripod. I usually carry that in the bag. It thankfully folds out pretty easily, but then I've got to put the mount on the top. Well, first I'm adjusting the head of the tripod from whatever the last position I was when I used it. There goes the mounting plate, which is how my camera connects to the tripod. I got to get the tripod handle. Usually I take it off so that it fits into the bag a bit better. Screw that down. And then here goes the camera. It slides right on top, clicks into place. And then we just have to adjust a few settings to open it up. We open up the front flap, turn on the camera, and we are good to start shooting. So not all that long. Goodbye. That is how long it takes me to get set up when we get out there. It's a process, but it's getting faster every time, and it also is slower on some days depending on how far I've gone from the car to where I think a good spot would be. It just depends. I'm kind of tired usually by that point. And then I wind up sitting down, and that leads me into the second question that I got asked by another person on Patreon. Thank you. I believe it was phrased. I pull it up here. Is your ass cold when you do these sitting for hours sessions? Yes. And no. Specifically my ass? No, not really. But like every part of me, yeah, it's cold outside. I woke up this morning and it was 4 degrees. Just 4. That is in Fahrenheit. So that's 28 degrees below freezing. That's pretty cold. That wouldn't have stopped me had I decided to go out today. I just bundle up. I've talked about it before, but there's 5 layers, I think, in total. I keep pretty well bundled up, so the only parts of me that would get cold are my face, and that's something that I'm still working on. I need to find a better solution. I've just been taking the mask that I bought has like mesh in the front so you can breathe through it, but that doesn't really help me when it comes to staying warm. So I take like a bandana and just stuff it down on the inside and make another layer so that the outside of that. Then the only part that's really exposed to cold is like around my eyes. And I just put up with that. So yeah, after several hours, it gets cold. Absolutely. In this environment, it's much colder than it was back in Georgia, without a doubt. So another question that I got was, what is in your ideal shot? And it's tough to say from location to location, from type of photography that I'm taking, even the animal that I'm looking at. That's the main one that's become my focus now, has been wildlife. So if there's wildlife in the lens, that's an ideal shot, better than anything. But I understand what the question is getting at from a perspective that I used to think about it there. It's composition. It's, how much do you want in the shot for your nature around it. I used to take pictures of birds, and it was just, how close can I get to the bird? Let's try to crop in as much as possible. Let's try to get as much in there. And I remember reading, and I don't remember reading where somebody was like, that's not the whole story. And everyone is entitled to their opinion. They can think what they want. Like, that's fine. It inspired me, I guess, in a way, because they were talking about the trees that's part of the environment and more of the picture. And I realized, I don't really like cropping in that much because the picture doesn't look as good. The quality, when you zoom in more, kind of, yeah. But you can see more of the story the further out it is. And I've also been criticized on this as well when I've posted photos online, people saying, why didn't you crop in so we could just see the bird? Because I like to tell more of the story. I like to see more of the picture. A, it looks better, it's better quality, and B, you can see the environment that this bird was in. You can see a bit more of the story that's there. I still crop it for certain things to try to tell a different picture. The whole thing that it's getting at is composition. And although I'm not an expert on composition, I did watch several courses by, I believe his name is Ben Long, on LinkedIn, and this will be edited if any of that is incorrect. He's a fantastic teacher, and it was a great series, and I learned a lot about composition. And I think the biggest takeaway that you could, if someone is looking at that and has not watched that series or doesn't know any of that, the big thing that I can pass on to you is when you go to take a picture and you're looking through the viewfinder, trace the edges of the frame. That, like, before it's tough to do with wildlife because they could be gone in an instant, but when you're there and you're looking at that, you just take your eye and go from corner to corner and look and go, is this in the shot? Is this obstructing anything? Is there this? Is there that? That's the best thing I can really say. That's how I try to do it. I don't always center everything. There's a rule of thirds where you want to try to keep your subject in different areas. I tend to do more of that in post. I tend to just try to get out there and get the picture because it could be gone in an instant, especially with birds. But when I'm editing is when that comes in more into play, when I'm like, all right, I can crop this one a little bit down. I like to still keep some of the background or some of the foliage, whatever the environment is of the animal I'm taking a picture of, but then I'll try to follow more of like rule of thirds or other things. When I'm out there and I'm actually shooting, can I get focus? Can I get a picture of the animal? Are they doing something? That would be better. That's the ideal, and that's where I've kind of started shifting over the years into like, instead of just capturing an image of a wildlife, try to find them doing something. It doesn't have to be something super exciting. I'm happy with anything I can, anytime I experience that is an amazing time. It's more of like, if I were to pick an example, could I take a picture of a bird and not just take a picture of a bird sitting there, especially if it's just looking at me because it's keeping an eye on me, but what if it were taking a bath or feeding or cleaning itself, preening, any of these things, suddenly take a picture from just a portrait essentially to there's something happening in the image. That would be ideally what I'm looking for at this point. And I kind of get that now because I've transitioned from still photography into videos. Videos, I can take thousands of pictures. That's essentially what video is. Most of the time when I'm shooting with the Ursa Mini, that's the wrong, I'm thinking of constellations. Most of the time when I'm shooting with the video camera, I'm using at least 60 frames a second, sometimes higher. I think it can go all the way up to 300 if it's doing 1080, but I also try to shoot in 4K as much as I can because I want to get the highest possible quality. And at the very least for me, I like to go put it on the TV upstairs that is actually 4K and watch it. It's nice. So at that point, I'm taking every second 60 to 300 pictures or frames. So I can tell a lot more of a story that way, or I can capture a lot more in an image. This next question is a bit deeper than just on the surface. The question was, how has this hobby affected your mental state? And short answer is great. It gives me something to do. It gives me a purpose. Perfect. The long answer is that it's everything. From the minute I wake up until the minute I go to bed. And then most of the time, I'm dreaming about it too. Wildlife, finding wildlife, getting it on video, taking pictures, anything I can do. It's given me a purpose. It's hard to really quantify that, but it is. And that's something I talked about in the very first video for vlogging was, this is something I want to make into a career. It's something that it's turned into more than just a hobby. I'd like it to turn into more than just a hobby. Most people in their concern, the way they would describe it would be when it starts making financial decisions, when it can provide, when I get money, when I make money off of this. I don't make any money off of this currently. I hope to make money off of this. That's the point of everything I've been doing for the last few months, is to start turning this into something that other people will want to watch, want to enjoy, want to pay money for, want to encourage me to continue going. That's what I'm hoping. But for my mental state, it's still great. Even though there is this whole unknown of trying to dive into this and taking bigger and bigger steps every time. And every time I think about it and I try to go, this is where I want to be, how do I get there? Going further and further with that, even though it goes beyond comfort levels. I don't really like going out and talking to people, but I'm going to have to because I'm going to need their expertise. I need to find people who have already been doing this and talk to them and figure out where they went and where they go, because I still have a hard time finding wildlife regularly. I don't know all good spots or anything. I'm in a new area. It's only been a few months. It's tough to say, but the second, even deeper than that for mental state, is that it's just peaceful. It's just nice to go out and be essentially alone. I rarely run into people, especially out here now that I've moved away from a very busy state of Georgia into the far less populated Wyoming. And it's just like, wildlife doesn't care. They don't care about filing taxes or getting to work on time or what so-and-so said behind their back. They're just surviving. They're just living and surviving. And that's really refreshing to see. I have been terrified of heights almost all of my life. At some point it kicked it into even more so, to the point where it becomes paralyzing, which is unfortunate when I was doing a lot of the things like working in theaters where I was trying to go up on catwalks and looking down 50, 60 feet above the stage and going, I can't move now. But I have to push myself further and further with certain things, and this is one of them. it's especially interesting to me from coming from an aspect of like I've never even been on a plane. I don't know what that's like. And then you see a bird just effortlessly take to the air, take flight, speak good. Something I'm working on. I don't know. It's a deep question that requires a lot of answer and thought into it, and I don't have the best answer for that. But the short answer is yes. Has it helped? Yes. Will it continue to help? I'm sure it will. It's far less stressful than anything else I've ever done, as crazy as that sounds. Because when you think about it and you take a step back and you look, you're driving out into the middle of nowhere, usually surrounded by animals that could kill you. I take every precaution that I can for them not to, and then I'm carrying, at this point, thousands of dollars of equipment with me. What could go wrong? Besides a lot. But it just feels good. I just like going out and looking and listening and just not talking and just being silent for several hours and seeing what I can see. And when I see wildlife, it's thrilling. Getting to capture it is even more amazing. I really enjoy it. One last question I can answer is, what is your dream location to shoot? And that's, I have a few, specifically mostly involving wildlife. Surprise. I would love to just travel all over and be able to do that at any point, but I really would like to go to Alaska and watch the salmon jumping upstream, and even better would be to watch a bear catch one of them out of the air and get that on video. I have seen it before. I know it's possible. I want to do it for myself. A second one would be puffins. Puffins are really cute. They're cool. I want to go wherever they are. I don't exactly know off the top of my head, but I want to go find those, and I want to take pictures and video of them. I think that would be awesome. So that is it for today's video. It was either long or short. I don't know, because I've only been shooting video for the last hour. I haven't edited any of it, so I have no idea how long this will be. But I hope I answered some of these questions. By all means, if you have questions, feel free to ask. You can leave them in a comment here on the YouTube video. I usually pull from Patreon first. That's the core audience who I want to focus on as much as I can. They deserve it. And that's where those questions came from today. I also am setting up to do streams. I'm going to stream on Twitch. I'll play a video game. I enjoy playing video games, and I've got a few ideas for selected video games where I can do something wildlife related. And while I'm doing that, I'll answer any questions that anyone has that wants to pop in. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.